Hi, everyone. I am here with Sally Blake, who is the CEO of Silent Games. I'm Emma Cowling, and I'll be interviewing Sally tonight to find out more about how she has, well, her journey of getting investment into her games company, into Silent Games. Now, I've known Sally for a little while, and she recently joined my mentorship program. So I've actually seen her kind of as she's gone through that process of investment a bit. And one of the things that I've loved seeing is just how clear she is on what's important to her, and she's also, I should have said earlier, she also runs a network, Women Make Games network, which is a fantastic network as well. So that's really, I've seen her really pull some of the stuff she's done there through into the setup of the company and just kind of get that clarity on where she wants to go. So I thought Sally's story was really inspiring and I really wanted to share it in the group. So welcome, Sally. Just before we get stuck in, I wanted to say to everyone, look, if you've got questions, please ask them as we go along. If you've got comments, please comment. It might take us a little while to see them. We'll try and group them together. It takes like 12 seconds or something for them to appear for us, but we will respond to them and we'll come back to them and stuff. So please do ask questions. So anyway, welcome, Sally. Great to have you with us.
Thank you. I'm so excited. I'm really hoping this is going to be useful for some people, because I do know a lot of people who are kind of going through this process of trying to get investment, and they're running their own studios, and it's a difficult process, but it's a really exciting process as well. So I'm really excited to talk about it, and yeah, hopefully it helps somebody out there that's doing the same sort of thing.
I'm sure it will. And just really wanted to, hopefully in this, we're going to be sharing the kind of the reality of what it's like. It's not kind of just, it happens. There's all the kind of the things that build up to it and the things that you're doing in the process, which kind of gets there. So the first thing I wanted to ask you, because I think it's really useful, is what is it that you actually do in games, and how did you get into games? So just give us a bit of background on you.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the first thing to say is I've always been really interested in video games since I was very, very little. And back when I was, studying and I was at school, kind of the job of a game designer or working in games was completely far-fetched. It was just something that was so pie in the sky. Teachers were like, I have no idea what that is. I don't really think that's a job,
Yeah.
and it was all that kind of stuff. When I went to careers advice, the closest thing was like graphic design, which was even then sort of a new and upcoming kind of position. So definitely it was something that yeah, it's obviously taken off in recent years, and it's a lot more viable career path for people now. And it was then, it was just hard to know about it. So
Yeah, it's more recognized now, isn't it?
oh, definitely. And I know that people in schools are doing programming and things like that, which was just not a thing at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it's really exciting that that's changed quite a lot in recent years. But then at university, I studied computer animation. So like I say, I was always interested in games, and I thought that was the perfect kind of combination of technology and art. And so that's what I was really interested in, is kind of doing all those sorts of things. Um, but then since leaving university, I applied for a job at Ubisoft, and I got the job at Ubisoft, which was so exciting because I really didn't expect it, actually, because obviously I'd never really had any industry experience. Prior to that, I did a bit of play testing for Team 17. So that's like when you go in once a month and play the game and give them some feedback as a player,
Yeah.
basically. So yeah, that was really exciting. And obviously at Ubisoft, I learned a great deal. I started as a QA tester, so that's a good route into the industry, but it's also a really good career path of its in its own right. There's people who stay in QA for years and become QA managers and things like that. But yeah, and I was testing Just Dance, which was hilarious fun, because it's a dancing game. So I was dancing all day, it was fun but exhausting as well.
So
Um,
you got paid to go in and dance and kind of play games. Yeah.
Yeah, my interview for Ubisoft, I dressed quite smartly because I had no idea what to wear to a game industry interview, and I had no one to ask because the only people that I knew who had interviews were blokes. So I was like, well, I'll do the smart casual thing and hope that works out. And then they were like, the role is for Just Dance, so can you dance to this song and then and then find stuff that's wrong with it and then report it back to us? So I was just like, I didn't expect to be dancing to Rihanna. It was Rihanna's Disturbia as well. So I was just there in this little office dancing to Rihanna's Disturbia, like, okay, this is very surreal. I don't think it was my dancing skills that got me the job, but yeah, that was really fun. And so yeah, I worked at Ubisoft for around 6 years. I spent about a year and a half, maybe 2 years, can't remember, it's so long ago now, in QA. And then one of the producers went on maternity leave, and they were like, we have someone joining to replace her temporarily, but because you've been around with the team for a long time, you know what's going on with this team, so it would be great if you could support them. And that was the kind of foot in the door for production. And then I'm basically working as a producer ever since, until recently. So yeah, I worked at Ubisoft for 6 years. Then I moved on to an independent company called Hammerhead. Learned a bunch there because it was a smaller company, so I had more responsibilities in terms of budget and things that I wouldn't have normally touched at Ubisoft, and it gave me a lot of good experience. And then I went to work for a publisher, No More Robots, and that was very useful as well, like because obviously I'm trying to get my game published or investment in my game. And then I also worked for a publisher, so I learned so much about what a publisher was looking for at No More Robots. So yeah, and I was kind of building my company alongside that while working part-time for No More Robots. So yeah.
So it's a real kind of tour through kind of understanding QA and testing through to how do you actually make the game and the production side, sort of moving into that and then taking on more responsibility, but also, yeah, like you say, that getting to work with the publisher and understanding what they need.
Oh,
Gives
that
you
was that was so lucky. It was just like the opportunity was there, and I was just like, this would be perfect because it was also a part-time position, so it meant that, and they were also extremely cool with me working on my own stuff outside, which sometimes companies aren't. So they were just super cool, really great company. Actually, my old job is up for grabs, so if there's any producers watching, then please apply for that job because it was really, really good. It was great, and that allowed me to kind of build stuff outside of work as well. So.
Cool. So tell us about the actual the game, the company. What was your motivation? When did you first start to think about it? How did it all come about?
I mean, I think as I mentioned before, like when I was a kid, I was always coming up with my own game ideas. I used to draw like UI for games, which is like something that a kid probably wouldn't normally be interested in. But I'd draw all the little menu buttons on the screen and stuff like that. So I always had a desire to make my own games at one point, you know? And at Ubisoft, I spent a lot of time on, big AAA games. So after Just Dance, I worked on Watch Dogs for a bit. I worked on The Division, which is a huge game, multiplayer game. And yeah, loads of fans of that game were talking to me on Twitter about why they liked the game. And that was super cool. But yeah, I just felt like it was time to get experience, which would help me build my own company and to learn about how other companies operate. And Hammerhead was a really good opportunity as well because they'd built the company from the ground up. That was started by students, and now they're this operation that are doing amazing things. So it was really cool to learn from them about how they how they. I'm just seeing the comments come through, and there's some
What
nice
was
stuff.
that
Thank
one?
you very much.
Sally's
Tony saying,
amazing. Is that one?
"Oh, that's so nice. Thank you very much."
And compliments on the games as well.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Thanks, Tony. So yeah, like
Sorry,
it was
go.
really good experience at Hammerhead, learning how to do some stuff that I hadn't had experience with at Ubisoft. But then yeah, after a couple of years, I was like, I think it's time to start our own thing. And the other co-founder, Joseph, he'd left Ubisoft as well, and he'd started creating the concept for the game, and he'd been doing that full time while I was working full time at Hammerhead. So he was starting to create the company and the foundations for the game, and that obviously that's really helpful to have someone doing that and bringing forward those ideas. So yeah, that was kind of how we started building the company, and it really just took off because we started having, so Teesside University have been really good as well. We started a partnership with them because it's kind of mutually beneficial because they're looking for work experience for their students, and obviously we're looking for somebody to come and work for us, and they do paid internships for their students. So for part of the time we were starting to build the company, we had a couple of students work for us, and one of them works for us full time now. He was our first employee that we hired, so that was a really good partnership that helped us build the company as well. So yeah, and yeah, the motivation, I just always wanted to build games. And I guess another thing that's important to say is obviously in a production position, it's a leadership position, and you get so much joy from helping people and seeing people progress and develop. And I felt like starting my own company, that would be something I could do for people. I could build their careers, and I had a lot of my own ideas about what makes a good company and what makes a nice place to work and creating a good company culture. So I wanted to kind of, put that into it as well. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that was a big part of the motivation as well.
So
Mm.
I think we'll come back to that in a minute, but tell us a bit more about the journey. So you had the idea. You've mentioned that your co-founder went off and he started working on it. But how has it evolved? How's it gone from kind of we've got a game idea to actually we've got investment, and how long has it taken?
Yeah, so we founded the company in 2018, and it both feels like a really long time since then, but a really short time as well. I don't know how to explain
Mm,
that, but it's like, yeah. So we worked on probably the game concept for about a year, I would say, but that was setting up the foundations of the company. We have an office, so it was setting up the studio itself and just building the foundations of what we wanted the studio to be, as well as the very early parts of the game. Um, and then early last year, we got that partnership with the Teesside students and we worked on the
mhm.
demo. So, you work on the pitch for the game and then you need to prove out what you have in your pitch with a demo. So we started work on the demo at that point and we worked on that for a few months. And then obviously COVID hit as well just before that. So
Yeah.
it was a really weird time. And to keep the company rolling, obviously we had those partnerships with Teesside, but we were also doing contract work for other studios. So we had a lot of talented people working with us who could do artwork for other studios. So we did that for a bit to just keep us going, basically.
And how
But
did you fund all of that? How did you manage to keep that funding coming through? And
So we had a couple of funding opportunities. So one was the coronavirus grant, which
all
was
right.
really, really lucky because that kept us afloat when the contract work dried up a little bit. Because
Mm,
when it first hit, people were like, "We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know how long we're going to be shut down for." The work picked up again a lot after that when because luckily games you can do a lot of things online and the tech industry can keep moving. So luckily that picked back up again. So that grant really helped us in that time where it was drying off a bit. And we also got the UK Games Fund grant, and that was amazing as well. So that's like, I guess it's like a competition, or you pitch your game and then they pick people who they think would, be successful and
yeah.
stuff like that, and then they give you a certain amount of money to spend making a demo or making the full game if you're a really small indie company. So yeah, the UK Games Fund, thank you very much for that. It really helped us out and allowed us to hire contractors to take the demo to the next level, really. And then yeah, after that it was just pitching everywhere we could, which was very weird because normally you would do that in person, um, but it was all online this time.
Yeah. I hadn't registered that bit, but yeah, of course it was. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, yeah, normally you would go like the Game Industry Biz organization, they have a kind of a summit, like an investment summit where you would go meet people face to face. They
Hmm.
moved all of their operations online, and we did a lot to talk to people that way and to meet people. And we had a list of investors and publishers that we're interested in talking to, and actually we met Amplifier at one of those kind of events. So those are the people that ended up partnering with us in the end. And yeah, that was the kind of journey from start to finish, really.
So do you think it was easier or harder going through it all online and with the COVID situation?
It's tricky because there was like pros and cons to it because obviously travel's expensive, and when you're on quite a tight budget, it can be hard to get to all of these summits. We went to one in Finland once, and that was, quite a costly endeavor to go there. Very useful to do it and meet people face to face, but yeah, I think there was an advantage to just being able to quickly meet people and
Yeah.
like that. But we still haven't met the people at Amplifier yet, and it'd be really nice to meet them in person. We were just emailing back and forth today how about that it would be nice to eventually do that. But there's a lot you can do these days with kind of online talks and
Yeah.
stuff like that. There's a lot of tools out there to collaborate online, so it's not been too difficult. But it's yeah, there's pros and
It
cons.
changes
Pros
the
and
way
cons.
you do it. So yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Hmm.
So how did you? Oh, I'm just going to check. There's a couple of. I'm going to come back to Tony's question later on because I think that's kind of one to follow up on. So yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah,
Tension building for anyone that hasn't seen Tony's comment. But anyway.
yeah.
So how did you balance that building a company with the work that you were doing in the background? Because I know you were working and kind of doing your own work at
Mhm.
I've forgotten the company name now.
Yeah, No More Robots was
No
the
More Robots.
company.
That's it. I was going to say something completely different there for a minute, but yeah.
Mhm.
So how
Yeah,
do
I
you
would say,
balance?
yeah, I mean, that was definitely a challenge because I'm one of the kind of people that just say yes to everything. I don't like an opportunity to pass me by. It's not that I'm, too nervous to say no. It's not that. It's just like if someone comes up to me with a cool suggestion, I'm like, oh, yeah, I'd love to be involved in that. So, I just always do it. And obviously, you helped me with kind of figuring out how to manage that and to say yes, but do things later and just manage the time a bit better, so it's not all crammed into a day, which is sometimes what happened. Um,
Mm.
but I also had a lot of like organization tools. I know we've talked about all the various apps that I've used before to
You
manage
are
my
definitely an
time.
app girl. If you ever want a recommendation for an app, then Sally is the person to go
I'll
to.
have an app for everything. Whatever you want, I'll know what app is good for it. So yeah, I had an app. I have an app called Ike, and it uses like the Eisenhower matrix to organize tasks. And it's really good because you can categorize things by urgent, important, or urgent but not important.
Mm.
And it does things in that way. And I found that just organizationally in my mind really helpful to categorize things in that way. And the app's super simple and straightforward, not no complicated like time estimations or anything like that. So, and it is if it's just on your phone, it's easy to kind of go through it and just check what you need to
Yeah.
do. So, definitely found that was helpful, and the fact that the No More Robots work and my work building the studio was so linked helped a lot as well because it wasn't a massive shift in mindset to switch between the two. One day I was looking at pitches from other indie developers, and then the other day I'd be working on my own pitch. So it kind of seeing that bit like fed into it a bit, um, and just seeing what worked well for them was very helpful. And No
Yeah.
More Robots also signed a few games while I was there, so I could see what was successful. And Mike, who's the founder of No More Robots, what was looking for there in the pitches and the games that he signed, because all of the games that he signed have been really successful. Like, so there's obviously a pattern to that, and to knowing what makes a successful game. So yeah, that was really helpful as well, just to have those two things linked. Yeah.
So they did link, but I know you also, I mean, I've spoken to you a little bit about in the past about it. So sometimes it just felt overwhelming and there's just so
Mm,
much going on. So, and that's part of it, isn't it? It's just knowing that
yeah.
sometimes things get busy and
Oh
having
yeah.
those
Mm.
strategies for dealing with it. And
Yeah.
and the thing I'm going to throw in as well is, so you run the Women Makes Games network, which is a super successful network as well, based mostly northeast and Newcastle and around that area. But so how does it all fit with that as well?
I mean, now that so when COVID hit, we were planning to do a lot of events in person because a lot of what one did was social networking events, just meeting other people and talking about our experiences in the game industry. But since that couldn't happen, a lot moved online to Discord, which the community keeps everything going themselves a lot of the time. If someone has a question about a job role or how to apply for something, that was really helpful that the community would talk with each other. So that was really cool. But yeah, there were times where I've just been overwhelmed with the amount of stuff that I've decided to do or I've decided to sign up for. And that's all part of the learning experience of how much you can take on when you have multiple threads running in your life. And there's just some stuff that I just had to let go. Like sometimes the laundry would not get done.
Yeah,
Sometimes there'd be a pile of dishes that'd just be there for a few days. I'm sorry, dishes, but I got other high priority stuff to do. And part of that was just letting that be and just letting that
yeah.
be the thing that happens and not beating myself up that I can't do everything. Um,
And, and that's the
yeah,
thing, isn't it? It's the beating yourself up about it is the thing that's taking the energy away. The dishes are fine; they don't
yeah,
mind.
yeah. They'll just
In
sit
your
there
kind of there
happily.
in your head going, but I've got to get around to that. And they're there and they're there. But it's just
Yeah, yeah,
and forgetting about it and kind of getting on with what's important. That's
mhm.
the thing that comes through, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Just letting it out of your mind for a bit, and
Yeah.
then coming back to it when you have time. Obviously, don't leave the dishes for 3 weeks or anything like that. That's gross.
Yeah, then it takes
I,
even
I
longer.
have I have done that before. I've left like a coffee cup on my desk for a good few weeks. Unfortunately, I am notorious for doing things like that, so I wouldn't recommend that. But yeah, just allowing a bit of space in your mind to just not feel like you always have to be on top of everything all the time and everything has to be done perfectly, all the time. I think that's a good lesson that I learned fairly recently, to be fair.
Yeah.
So mm, yeah.
So I've got a question from Tony, which I think sort of fits here as well. So what's the main collaboration tool that you use to talk to other creators?
So we use Slack. Obviously, there's a few different ways to talk to each other online. Discord is one that's really popular with the gaming community. The only reason we chose Slack is because it has loads of integrations with our other tools. So, yeah, we use Slack for communication. For things like sharing references and concept art and that kind of thing, we use Miro, which is a really good kind of creative tool. I'd really recommend looking into that if you like brainstorming and mood boards and gathering images and stuff like that. It's really good for creative endeavors. So yeah, we've been
What was
using
that,
that.
Miro?
Miro, yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll
and
put links to these below.
yeah, that'd be good. We have loads of different. Yeah, Miro has loads of different templates for all sorts of different things. So pretty much whatever you're doing, Miro will probably have a template for it. So that's useful. And then I use Jira for task management, which is kind of a standard game industry tracking tool. It's used for bugs and tasks and stuff like that. Not the most glamorous of things. A lot of people know Jira and have gripes about it, but it's the one that I'm super familiar with. So that's been easy to kind of just manage with the Jira Cloud version that we're using at the moment. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a combination and kind of fitting everything together, and and that's
Yeah,
one of
yeah.
the things I've seen in the games industry a lot. It's because people are used to using tech. It's like, oh, there's a new tool there. Oh, let's use that. Let's kind of see how that fits in. I think the games industry is really good at kind of adopting new tools and playing with them. So, I mean, Discord's brilliant. Okay, Discord was developed for the games industry, but Discord's just a really good kind of place to be, and got a really good feel to it, hasn't it? So
Yeah. There's loads that just kind of feed into each other. And yeah, as you say, game devs, we're always just like, new stuff, let's go and try that. Probably very easily distracted by new things. But yeah. Yeah, definitely that is a thing we're embracing new tools and stuff.
So you joined the mentorship program back in September, and I just wanted to just ask you, how did that help you? Because you were juggling all these things back then. What did the mentorship program help you with?
It's definitely the thing that I was saying before, which is letting go of not being able to do everything. And when you've got 100 tasks on your list and you're just so overwhelmed with the amount you've got to do, it's that way of prioritizing. Because I did a lot of prioritizing for other people. That was my job, and I was like, I can prioritize everyone else's task, but when it came to mine, I was just like, there's hundreds on here, I can't do it for myself. It's such a weird feeling how different that is when it's yourself. So definitely speaking to you about that and just getting that sense of perspective was really helpful. And then yeah, just outside of the juggling thing, just I know we talked about the zombie goggles, which is going to be really hard to explain to everybody watching, not knowing what that is. But that was just good to get a sense of perspective about how other people were viewing situations. So if anyone was stressed, basically for the same reasons I was, maybe they were feeling overwhelmed by things. It was like they got a pair of AR glasses on and only they can see the zombies that are coming at them. And it's just that they're getting that sense of empathy for everyone else's situations as well. And that was something that I found really helpful.
Yeah.
And then part of your program, there was just a lot about the mission, which I felt was really clear in my head when I joined, but so much more came out of it when I was going through the tasks, and I could see how creating silent games and my own company could fulfill a lot of the things that I was trying to do by doing loads of other things, and how they could all feed back into making silent games, a good place to work and building the company culture there. So yeah, just knowing that I was already achieving goals by running the company was a
Yeah.
good insight that I gained from the program as well. So yeah,
I,
that was super
I
helpful.
remember you getting that insight and posting about it, and I just kind of got this shiver through. It was like, yes, that's just what an amazing realization that all these things
Yeah.
we're trying to do, and they actually come together, and they fit with the dream of kind of having a company, and you can bring them in, and you drew that. I just remember that picture you kind of added. You created a picture of what
Yeah.
be, and it was like, yeah, okay, I can see that so much. It was just, yeah, creative exploration. It's brilliant.
Yeah, join the little logo and everything. That was so nice. I haven't, because I used to be really interested in art and did a lot of art, and doing that and just tying it all together was super nice. So there's
Yeah.
loads of different tasks for any kind of person that you are. So yeah, that was really helpful as well.
Cool. And so we've talked a bit about, you've mentioned the investor, and you've also talked about the culture that you wanted to create in the company. Now, one of the things I know from kind of experience of setting up startups and stuff like that is that often investors can be really strict on, well, how much goes where and what you do and stuff. So
Yeah.
how does your investor fit in all of this with the culture that you're trying to set up?
Yeah, so I mean, we talked to a lot of people, we talked to a lot of investors, lots and lots of different publishers. But when we spoke to Amplifier, actually, I we didn't request a lot of meetings with people that time round because we were already in conversations with lots of people at that time. So I didn't want to overwhelm myself with requesting new meetings when I was, already in talks with other people. But when I saw Amplifier's website, they had a lot about people on there and
Mhm.
just how they wanted to create a good company culture and they have some really good values on their website now that I knew about, people first and building great teams and things like that. And I was just like, oh, I really like that. So I'll request a meeting with them. And they were the only people that I requested a meeting with that day. And I'm so glad I did because just talking to them just from the first meeting, obviously they asked a lot about the game and the finances are obviously really important, but they asked a lot about the team and where we'd come from and what our motivations were, and they wanted to know about us as people as well. And we just had this really nice conversation about that kind of thing. And yeah, they're just really lovely people, like,
Yeah,
so that helps obviously, with finding someone who you fit with and someone who cares about the same things that you do. And definitely that's just strengthened as we've worked with them for the past few months. Obviously we've got an insight into what they're trying to build with their company and the kind of ethos that they have, and it very
yeah,
much matches with everything that we were trying to do. They were very open to everything we were trying to do that was for the betterment of our company and for the well-being of our people. So yeah, that was really important, and I'm glad we found a good match of people
and
that care,
that's,
care
I
about
think
that.
that's the being willing to kind of say, look, this is what's important to us, what investors are out there that fit that, and then
Mhm.
focusing on kind of building the conversations with them. And then what I'm also hearing is that as you were going then having the conversation with them, you could talk eloquently about why you were passionate about that as well, so that came through. So because it was important to both of you, you clicked as a result, and it's so
Yeah,
powerful, isn't it?
yeah, it seems so. They were just, yeah, our values matched, and I could tell from them that we were kind of in the same wavelength. So that was
Yeah.
cool. And I think hopefully they feel the same about us. That's why they invested in us. So yeah, definitely that was helpful.
So you got the investment then. So what did it feel like? What did it feel like when you
Oh,
first
I
heard?
can't even. I don't know how to explain it because it was half just in shock. Because it's what I've always wanted to do. It's what, like, and also just thinking about the kind of team that we were going to build and the kind of people we were going to have at the studio. Just the fact that that was going to become real was just like so exciting, and the fact that we were going to, like, I think about the players a lot, and I've talked to people about the kind of games we want to make, and talk to people who love video games, just players or people who used to really like the Division and stuff. I still talk to people who are fans of the Division and things like that. So just thinking about how they would respond to our game, it all just suddenly became real in one moment,
Yeah,
which was super super weird, and it took a little while to sink in. But I'm just so excited. The past few months have been super super interesting, and the team are just throwing around amazing ideas all the time. The people we've hired so far are incredibly talented and hardworking, and yeah, I'm really proud of them because they're just so, they always contribute and think of new cool stuff. So yeah, they're just, you can tell I'm excited by the whole thing.
yeah.
It's awesome. So yeah.
So what can you tell us? Because I know there's often a lot of kind of secrecy and stuff at this stage. But what
Mm.
can you tell us about the game or the plans or whatever it is? What might happen over the coming months?
Yeah, so we're obviously trying to build our team at the moment, and we're like building up to a team size of like 10 to 15 people, based in the northeast, of course, because that's where we are, and that's where we'd like to stay. So
The UK
yeah,
that is as well. I should say
yes,
that.
North UK for anybody that's not in the UK. So yeah, so we're building that, and it's going to be an RPG game, released in a few years. We don't have an exact release date yet, but that's pretty much all I can say for now. So it's a bit secretive, but yeah, hopefully that gives a little bit of flavor about what it's going to be. It's going to be an RPG, so
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Mhm.
And Tony says, there you go. You've got your beta for you.
Yay, thanks, Tony. Absolutely, absolutely. When we get to that point, 100%.
So okay. So what advice would you give to anyone that wants to create their own company?
I think having a strong vision for the company helps. Having a strong vision, not just about your game, but about your company culture, that really helps. Having someone to do, the budget side of things, the production side of things is important. That was a strength of ours because, we'd worked in production for a while. So being able to clearly communicate your budget, your timeline, the vision for your game, what the hook of the game is going to be, and then also showing what experience you have and showing that you're going to be the people to execute that effectively is really important, I think. So yeah, just clearly communicating all of those things. And there's some really great advice at the moment out there. There's pitch decks that have been posted on Twitter. There's like 3 different ones that I've posted on my Twitter that are really helpful for people who are wanting to start pitching to publishers if they do have that vision clear in their mind already of what they want to do. And then just network with people.
Yeah.
You know, that's helped me so much. I'm I'm just a nosy and curious person, so I like to know about people. I like to chat to people and just find out what they're about. So just that has helped me, and I got so many great bits of advice from people on like the UK game industry Slack, from Twitter. Loads of people were super willing to help and look through my deck and give me feedback. That was so helpful because I was, you know, going into a territory I haven't been in before. So I really appreciate everyone that helped us along the way with that. And yeah,
And
that was
that is something that's lovely about the games industry as well, isn't it? That everyone is so supportive and willing to kind of give you that bit of advice or give you that bit. So I see that so much on the games industry Slack and on your Discord site as well. There's always someone. If you're a student coming up through and you want some advice, then asking for it, and people will generally give. But it's just being willing to put yourself out there and ask for it. And generally, people love to support everyone else. So yeah,
100%. Yeah, it's fine to be like, I have no clue what I'm doing. Help me with this, please. And somebody will out there will come and rescue you from whatever you're trying to do. So that's the really thing.
And I guess the other thing I heard in what you were saying, if you were going back to kind of that early stages as you were getting into your career, if you want to set up your own company, but you don't have some of that experience, kind of being willing to go and work for games companies and develop it and grow it and become a sort of move into assistant producer and support and kind of develop those skills and go and find out what it's like to work in QA and stuff. And that really helps to move you towards setting up your company as well. So
definitely. I see people trying to start companies straight out of uni, and that's totally fine. But I think it would be much harder for me to have done that. The kudos that Ubisoft gave and the experience that the other companies I worked at gave were just invaluable. I can't imagine setting up a company without that knowledge, because it just makes you feel a bit more secure about what you're doing as well. If you're confident about certain aspects and you're learning new ones, you want to have a base, you know, a foundation for the rest of it, I think. So yeah, I would definitely recommend getting a bit of experience before embarking on the journey, because it's quite tricky if you didn't have that, I think.
So I'm gonna head to the questions and the comments. So if anyone who's watching has questions, then please do feel free to ask. It takes a little while for us to come through, but there's a couple to look at, I think, and we'll go through them as those questions come through. But and if anyone's watching on replay, feel free to add questions as well, because we will kind of come back and check in and respond to them. So whether you're watching it live or not, please add your questions in the comments. So I'm just going to scroll back through and. I was just, Brooke's comment that I just wanted to add. So, wish my teens would get into program, but they just want to play games. I just wondered if there's any suggestions there as how we can persuade them.
Get them in QA. Get them into QA.
Yeah,
that's a good place to start.
Background, yeah.
I mean, to be fair, the thing with games is there's something for everybody. You know, if you're interested in the technical side of things, there's programming, there's technical art. If you're interested in art, there's character design, there's environment art, there's asset creation, 3D art. And if you're interested in music, you can make audio. If you're interested in writing, you could be a narrative designer or a writer. There's something for everyone. If you'd like to, you know, talk to people and spread the word about things, there's obviously marketing and community, social media management, and there's just everything out there. The games need everything these days, so there'll be something for them.
So sure. The UK is it's such a, and I didn't know this until I started working with the games industry, how big a hitter the UK is. So I hear it dismissed that there's not that many jobs in games. There are plenty of jobs in games, not necessarily very well paid, but that's kind of hopefully being fixed. But there's a lot of passion there, a lot of people believing in it. But there are a lot of jobs out there, and the UK has got them. So yeah, do check it out.
Definitely. I know that I speak to some parents because I've done like a bit of mentoring and gone to schools, and they're like, "Is that really a job?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's as big as TV, it's as big as film, it's a real thing, I promise you." Like, and they're very much in demand, especially programmers and the more technical roles, absolutely in demand. So yeah, it's a viable career, I promise. Been doing it for nearly 10 years.
So I'm gonna just bring up Tony's comment next. So Gamergate.
Oh God, this
I
is
know.
a heavy one, isn't it? To be honest, I mean, when I was younger and I liked video games, I was used to people being like, they're not for girls. It's not something that girls should be interested in. From all people, whether they were male, female, whatever, it was people were, that's a boys thing back in the day. Obviously now everyone plays games. Women play games just as much as men, and so that's not really an issue anymore. Obviously, online harassment is a big problem. Luckily, I haven't really faced much of that. I did used to have a YouTube channel and got some horrible comments on that, but you can just delete them. And
Yeah.
I'd say I've got quite a thick skin as well. I'm used to being online and putting myself out there, and it's just something that comes with it. And it's very unfortunate when you get comments that are horrible, but I'm just like, I don't know who you are and I don't care what you think. So I
Yeah.
just delete them and block them and don't talk to them. Obviously, I would imagine, and I have been told that the whole situation around that has made it difficult for women who have been, wanting to get into games, and they're wondering if that's what the game industry is like, if there's people who are that kind of nasty. But honestly, my experience in games has been pretty good on the whole. I've had some really supportive mentors of all genders, and I've had a really good career path, and I have done well for myself in games. So really, there's a space for everyone in games, and if there's somebody trying to tell you there isn't, then they are wrong. So
yeah, absolutely. Go and find a different place to. They're probably just jealous.
Delete them. They're not worth listening to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I haven't seen any more questions come through, I don't think, unless you spotted any. No, I think that's most of the questions we covered. If anyone wants to ask one, get it in quick. But the final question I wanted to ask you is what's the best way for people to contact you and to connect with you if they've got any further questions or want to know more about what you do?
Mm-hmm. Definitely on Twitter is where I'm usually found, posting random memes and other stuff, but also I occasionally post some useful industry advice. Well, hopefully it's useful anyway. So definitely I'm super open to people DMing me questions about the game industry, or if they've got a pitch deck that they're trying to get off the ground, or they are trying to get into the industry and they want someone to look at their CV or portfolio. It might take me a couple of days or weeks to get to it, but I will always try my very best to look at everything that people send me. So I'm super open to that. So if you find me on Twitter, my Twitter is Vialixia, which is really hard to spell, and I've made it very hard for myself and for everybody to find me.
We'll make a link.
Yeah, hopefully we can make a link to make it easy for people to find me and add me and stuff like that. So yeah.
Cool. So that was the end of my questions. I haven't seen any more coming through. Tony says thanks for a positive story on that one.
Thanks, Tony. I met Tony on the program, and she's lovely and she's super supportive, and yeah, she's got a really interesting games as well. So thanks for being awesome.
Yeah. She's doing the masters in games stuff as well, isn't she? So yes. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us. And I think we're just over time, probably 38 minutes. Maybe we've gone a bit further than I planned, but thank you so much. If anyone is interested off the back of this about knowing more about the Authentic Leaders mentorship program that Sally was part of and Tony's part of as well, then please do get in touch, DM me, and there's plenty of information in the group about it as well. And the next round kicks off the 22nd of February now. So yeah, looking forward to that. Looking forward to getting some more people in. So thank you, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. And as I said, if you've got any further questions, please do drop them in. We'll come back and answer them. And I hope you have a fantastic day, and we will see you soon.
Thanks very much, everyone.